It's mine now. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a minute. Figured to give you guys a quick update on what's changed and the new vehicle behind me. All right, let's get started. All right, so a lot has changed. I'm in a different place now. Still in California, still, out here in the coast. And as you can tell, it's a different spot, right? Got basically a proper shop storage kind of thing going on. Fiero still behind me. This thing's still epic, still awesome. Still got the Barracuda. I mean, come on. Mighty Barracuda, baby. And then that behind me, that's a 1914 REO. And we're gonna take a little tour of that a little bit, but here, let me show you the rest of the shop real quick. Let me turn you around. And there it is. This is my new area of, I don't know, workshop, I guess. Yeah, it's nice and tall. Got all my stuff here. I no longer live in the place I used to live at, and I no longer have the space I used to have. So this is what I have. So again, Fiero, epic. Barracuda, epic again. And then the REO. So let's do a quick little rundown on this REO. Like I said, a 1914 REO. And if you guys don't know what a REO is, essentially it stands for, well, let's see. Let's go to the emblem. And that stands for REO, right? So Ransom Eli Olds. Now that last name sounds familiar. It's because that's the guy who created the Oldsmobile company. Way back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And essentially, this vehicle is a response of him being kicked out of his old company. Oldsmobile created the company. The people in his company kicked him out, and he got mad and created REO. And this is an example of the last REO, the last vehicle he had a hand in when it was engineered and designed and everything. So this is the last vehicle to have his DNA in, if you will. And that's it. This is the last one he essentially created. And I mean, I think it looks pretty freaking epic. I've always wanted one of these, what they're called, horseless carriages. I think they're pretty cool. Very awesome. I love the color. And believe it or not, it's basically done. It's just mostly maintenance. It's an awesome example of old school car. I mean, this thing is really old. It predates a lot of stuff, but it also has a lot of interesting things that are kind of modern. So, ignition switch, right? We got a speedometer, an odometer and stuff. No tach yet, at least in this year's. So timing control, and we got, what is that? There's like a throttle lever. There it is. There's a throttle lever back here. There we go. Shifter, so 3-speed with reverse. The pedals are interesting. We have clutch and what they call a hill climb brake. That is regular brake. And then the accelerator pedal is a cute little thing down there. That's a little button, that's the accelerator. And that right there is the starter pedal. Oh yeah, and that's the plaque for how you register this vehicle. As you could probably imagine, most of the back of this whole thing right here is wood. That canopy is all manually, yes, it does go back. And then this doesn't quite work right yet, but essentially it's supposed to hinge and just open through the middle here, give you a little bit more air. It's AC, I guess, although, I mean, kind of open top roadster type deal. Don't really need more ventilation, right? But I mean, it's proper wood. This whole thing is just wood upon wood upon wood. Little doors just kind of open and latch, kind of. Old car, right? We got wood wheels, which is really cool, I think. Oh, REO right on the wheel there. Interesting two-piece design. So if you ever need to replace these rims, let me show you here. We got some spares, or a spare, sorry. As you can see, it's just the rim and tire, not just the tire. So you replace them by these things right here. You remove those and replace the whole rim with the tire already on it. then the wooden spokes actually attach to these drums here. Now it only has rear brakes, 2 drums on each side. Each drum is controlled by one of these pedals here. So you can actually lock these pedals down in brake mode and hold it in a hill, which is pretty cool. Let's see here. This is the timing controller. No, sorry. This was a choke, if you will. No longer works. It's been bypassed. And this is the light switches. And trust me, those lights, as big as they are in the front here, they are really useless as far as driving with them. They're primarily for like the oncoming person to see you, or so that they can see you at night, you know. That's what they're mostly for. Oh, and it does have the optional stoplight. I don't know if you guys saw it a minute ago. There it is. Little old stoplight. Optional. Yeah, baby. Premium. Anyway. Oh, and it's got a little toolbox. Of course, you're gonna need it. And then let me show you the epic little engine here. Give me 1 second. Okay, so you undo these hold downs down here. Right there and right there. Just pull this up. And there it is. That is I honestly don't know how big this engine is, but it's a 4-cylinder. And it's not conventional by any means. So these are monoblocks. So this whole thing, this is a cylinder head and cylinder combination. So there's no like separate head you take off and then there's gaskets in there. There is a gasket down here, sorry, right there, but that's the block. So crankshaft or crankcase, if you will, and then cylinder, and then what would be the head. This is not quite a flathead since it does have overhead valves, but the exhaust valve on the other side is at the bottom, like a flathead. So it's a little weird combination of stuff, but it works just fine. It runs great. Yep, proper brass tubing for your coolant here. These are the intake valves, and you adjust them. They're chromed to look good, obviously, but also you'll notice there's no valve cover. And because there's no valve cover, there's no way to contain like the lubricant and stuff. You do have to oil these every once in a while. But the chrome actually, and the nickel plating and everything serves as low friction surfaces to help with running it longer, you know? So there's that. This is an aluminum intake manifold, and you'll notice it goes down. And that's a carburetor. So this is called an updraft carburetor. Air goes through here, fuel and air go up, and then they go into there. And essentially it's 2 cylinders, so 2 pairs of 2 cylinders, right? And there's actually a 6-cylinder version of this whole thing, which is cool. So that's pretty interesting. Then you can actually access the side of that. See the little access panels? It's all really ornate and pretty, honestly. This also runs on that, by the way, is a hill climb tank. So there's a tank in there underneath the seat, and then there's this tank. This is a secondary tank where if you're too steep of a hill, because this is all gravity fed, you put fuel in here, and there's a switch inside. Little fuel lever there, boom. Extra parts, as you can see right there. But anyway, that's the lever. And the lever, when you click it, so here, I'll show you. That is for the main tank up here. And that is for the front tank. The front tank is only for hill climbing if at really steep angles, and that's off when you're not using the vehicle. Pretty simple. But anyway, that's how that goes, and this feeds into this carburetor here. This is the steering gear, if you will, so there's no power steering of any kind. And believe it or not, this is actually very simple to steer. These really skinny tires are easy to steer, and because they're so big with the spokes, maneuvering this thing in and out of here is actually surprisingly easy. Very, very simple. Anywho, but yeah, very ornate wood. Oh yes, this runs on a magneto. Now, I'll try to get over there. I don't know if I can get you guys back there, but see that thing on the bottom there? Let's see if I can get there. All right. That thing right there, that's a magneto and distributor. And essentially, that provides the spark plugs that are back here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, with the power needed to run. And you can either run it on battery or the magneto. The magneto would be if you don't want to run your battery. Back then, batteries weren't the greatest. So the magneto was the best way to provide power. Nowadays, with battery, you don't really need the magneto on this, but it's there for old school's sake. But it's really interesting to see how this thing operates. To temperature gauge right there, old school gun sight style. I think it looks pretty cool. That's the front of it right there. REO, pretty awesome. And like I said, I love this car. I love the way this thing, oh yes, of course we have the vents for power and speed. Nothing says performance like 45 horsepower out of this behemoth of an engine. Look at this thing. Yeah, oh, that's a flywheel, by the way. Back there, that's a open air flywheel. That just swings about back there, and that creates all your, oh yeah, the starter is hooked up to the gearbox. So essentially you can have it in gear and cranking, and this whole thing will just move forward or backwards using the starter. A little dangerous, but it can be done. I refuse to do it, not me. And I'm gonna go through more of this vehicle when I actually take it out for a drive and do stuff to it. Like I said, it's mostly for me to have fun with. This is really just a once in a while weekend thing. I've always wanted one. I have one now. It's really nice. Oh yeah, pumping fuel. It's in there. You see that? There you go. That's for the battery. Yeah, pump fuel through there. And of course, the Horseless Carriage Club emblem over there. Very cool, very nice. The gentleman who sold me this, very, very kind man. Oh, gotta have one of those. Very, very kind man. Offered all sorts of parts. And the nice thing about being part of one of these clubs is everybody has parts for one of these. It's really cool. It's really, really cool. There's the fan. There's the belt. Crankcase. Yes, the camshaft is also held in the crankcase, which is pretty cool. And this is a crossflow head, so intake and then exhaust on the other side. But yeah, very cool. Very interesting things I've been learning. You know, this has this really cool sort of like, back then a lot of cars looked like this, you know, it had this particular shape, that buggy back end with the front end of the engine. This general shape's very Model T and so on. A lot of cars had a very similar shape, but this REO had a really cool sort of styling flourish, if you will. You'll see how it kind of goes up in the front there and like a beak. The front sort of tilts forward, very defiant with the emblem. I think that's a really cool touch. It's very famous for that. And then a lot of guys, older gentlemen, if you will, or older people, if you will know the REO Speedwagon band. Well, that comes from this car. Not so much this car, but what appeared around this time, 1914. The REO was, you know, this, they call this the fifth generation. And in this moment, REO created the REO Speedwagon, the REO Speedwagon, which is essentially the same chassis, a little bit more beefed up. And then instead of the touring coupe, which by the way, this is called a touring sedan for 4 doors, they stop right around here. And then it's like a covered wagon, if you will. And the back end of it is a pickup truck, essentially. But instead of running like a drive shaft this does, the Speedwagons had a chain. And the reason for that is you could put a big old box back there, and then the wheels in the back were independent. So you could put as much stuff as back there as possible, and they called them Speedwagons because they were fast. You can get stuff, deliver stuff, all that stuff, super fast. And believe it or not, eventually REO, this whole company, became a truck company primarily. Mostly because REO didn't like the way the car industry was changing so fast. And so they moved over to commercial trucking and things of that nature. And boom, you have REO Speedwagon. The REO brand is very famous for diesel trucks and things of that nature. Then eventually they got absorbed, and there's all kinds of stories online for that. But yeah, if you guys want me to get into more of the history, I will. Let me know in the comments below. And guys, let me know in the comments what you think of this. I think it's pretty cool. I love this type of thing. This is so visceral. The experience of this is, if you guys ever get a chance to ride in one of these, they're freaking awesome. Anyway, guys, that's it for now. I'm glad to be back. Finally, I know it's been a minute. And yeah, I can't wait to do more car stuff, more awesome car stuff with, like, again, the Fiero, the awesome Barracuda, and now the epic REO. All right, guys. See you next time.